All right. Welcome back to Corporate College Cringe, everyone. All right. This time it's me and Justin. So today's two topics are going to be the continued hatred toward remote work. We're going to dunk on basically large companies who still hate remote work and don't see how it's beneficial. And then we're going to look at a university that Justin is currently involved in their computer science program, and we're going to dunk on this. I hope everyone's good this week. I hope everyone had a great week and got their workouts in today. Let's get into this. All right, first and foremost, the first article glimpse I'm going to read about this is called "The People Who Hate Working from Home" from BBC. Yes, lots of people looking to bag a remote working role right now, but there are also plenty of people who are just as keen to go back to the office. According to a 2022 study by PwC, 11% of U.S. workers would prefer to work full-time in the office, and 62% said they would like to spend at least some time there. More than 51% of managers are also confident their employees would be keen to return to the office full-time, according to Good Hire. While many people love the flexibility that remote work brings for others, the loss of an office environment and social contact it provides can be a major blow. Last but not least, I would never apply for home or remote working role, says Avi Smith, business manager at food producer Spice Kitchen. The 30-year-old was lucky enough to spend 6 weeks working from home during the pandemic while briefly furloughed from her previous role, and since then has worked full-time in her Liverpool office. She even values the daily commute. Even when I was furloughed for a few weeks, not having a routine where you get up, leave the house and socialize and interaction with other people throughout the day, I think can massively affect your mental health. Not to leave your house for long periods of time, I don't think it's good for you. Okay, so I read you that little glimpse from the BBC article. How do you feel about what she just said?
Yeah, so, I mean, there are obviously people who value the commutes, they value their social interactions, they value the fact that, hey, humans, and that's great. I mean, more power to it. I mean, I know people myself that are just like this person. Yeah, at the same time, you know, remote work should be optional. It should be something that people should choose for themselves.
Okay, so here's my reaction to this. Remote work should definitely be part of your negotiation with a company when you're interviewing. It definitely, I would agree that there's a great argument for being in the office. I don't agree with the excessive 5-day-a-week model. I think as we just explored in our podcast episode, I think it should be a hybrid model, so that you get the best of ideally both worlds. Maybe 3 days in the office, 2 days in the office, 3 days at home, 4 days in the office, 1 day at home, or flipped. So when you are starting out in an organization, for sure, I do think there's some benefit to at least starting off in the office, getting properly trained and mentored, in the beginning. And then when they start to see that they can trust you, then they start giving you the reward of remote, even though I think I agree with, channels like Josh Fluke. I don't believe forcing people to come back into the office 5 days a week because the manager in this case doesn't want to learn a new skill of managing remote teams. That's BS.
Absolutely.
That's just
that's a cop out. That's what it is. And
if
I'm
you
sorry.
Are, for example, a baby boomer who's between 70 and 75, and you're too lazy to basically pick up that additional skill set, as we had with our own baby boomer guest, where she eventually is adoptable herself, because most boomers age 70 to 60, and the youngest being in the last 4 years, they've had to continually adopt. if you're used to doing things due to how the government is run, then in that case, just get the hell out of the workforce. Please go take your pension and retire, because you're going to find very quick trying to force people back into the office is going to backfire. And 5 days a week, nobody's got time to commute 5 days a week every day. So while she is correct in some, while the girl that I just read, the business manager, is correct, for some industries, it's necessary. Why do you want to pause? All right. So while the business manager is correct, for some industries, this is necessary. For example, manufacturing, retail, some level of food service and retail, those will never be able to be done remote. There are industries that remote, as even Keenan said, makes sense. So the next, from another article that I pulled today, and this is for the banking sector, I'm going to read a couple things, that I picked out. When Tom Natarelli arrived on Wall Street in the 1980s, work-life balance didn't really exist. Long hours while missing out on family time was just necessary to get ahead. It was necessary not to be left behind. But Mr. Natarelli, now the president of Swiss Bank UBS in the Americas, doesn't see why employees of today should have to make the same trade-offs at the cost of their personal happiness and bottom line. Employees with flexibility to skip horrible commutes and work from home often are simply happier and more productive. Mr. Natarelli said they feel better. They feel like we trust them more, that they've got a better work-life balance. They're producing more for us. That's a win-win for everyone. Welcome to a kinder, gentler Wall Street. Much of the banking industry, long a bellwether for corporate America, dismissed remote working as pandemic blip, even leaning on workers to keep coming in when closing turned Midtown Manhattan into a ghost town. But with many Wall Street workers resisting a return to the office 2 years later, and the competition for banking talent heating up, many managers are coming around on the work from home, or at least acknowledging it's a fight it's not a fight they can win. So for the banking sector to finally admit this 2 years later, after the current CEO of Goldman Sachs basically admitted we're not going to do remote work, period. For that, well, here's what basically ended up happening. The market chose to make him suffer. What?
Yeah, he was supposed to backpedal.
What happened was everyone who saw those articles basically was like, oh, here's the finger to you, Mr. CEO, man. Goodbye. And recruiters started getting hit up because most people were used to this whole idea of working remotely. They didn't want to go back to the office. And as we learned with Catherine and myself, who the hell wants to wake up 5 days a week, pay an expensive commute, plus New York City taxes? And by the way, I even got taxed in my paycheck to commute. So I was paying taxes in addition to a commute to work in New York City. Who the hell wants to look forward to, who the hell in any case wants to look forward to coming to an office 5 days a week because some inflexible manager, even or CEO who's literally at the end of his generation, still wants to do it the old fashioned way?
Yeah, I don't know what to say about that. I mean, it's
and
like
not only that,
and I'm like, well, some people will still believe in it. I mean, that's
guess where most of his workers all went to.
It's okay.
They left for the competition. Citigroup embraced hybrid and remote work. They added those roles just to attract Goldman Sachs talent. Goldman Sachs is arrogant to believe that if we raise the pay for junior bankers, this will keep them. Well, no, it didn't.
No.
So basically, here's the dunk. Hey, Mr. CEO man of major Fortune 500 Goldman Sachs Bank, how did raising the pay work for you? Oh yeah, your workers gave you the finger and went to Citigroup and JP Morgan, who's a competitor. Don't you feel stupid?
I wonder if they do. Or maybe they have shielded themselves off from reality in another dimension. Who knows?
That's a whole nother issue because, as Catherine pointed out, especially in the case of most of these executives who are all in this age bracket, is they're still sort of trying to hold on to that some of those old traditions, where she said it herself.
Okay.
And we experienced it as, the senior part of our generation, which is the authoritarianism in organizations, which unfortunately, this is not a good style to be managing with anymore. I have somebody who we've spoken about, and you even know this. That style of management is no longer applicable today and will cause you to lose talent in the market.
Oh, it will cause you to lose your job in some cases. Sure.
Well, depending on the organization, completely, of course. If you act like an authoritarian, your workers will give you the finger.
Oh, they will. They have a newfound sense of, what should we call it? Soul. They feel like
we learned from Generation X, as a friend of ours who did the podcast who's been on a few episodes of the podcast with us, even revealed, whose generation started wanting a little more work-life balance. It wasn't just the baby boomers, became a little more popular with Generation X.
Yeah.
This was that whole generation that pioneered and introduced more technology. They also wanted more of a work-life balance. They didn't want, they were rejecting how the silent generation were running things. Boomers got annoyed with it, and even boomers now don't want to be in the office all that much.
It's almost like, wait a minute, what have we been doing throughout our lives? We actually have freedom? Wait, companies can actually trust us to do work and not be babysat for 8 hours a day, which is like a third of a day. Wow. I guess we've grown up finally.
That was the two oldest generations still trying to basically be grandparents to an extent. I mean,
I wouldn't say that.
Okay, they were trying to be dictators.
No, not even that. They just want to treat their kids and grandkids like children. There's, I guess technically we still are.
Yeah, as
millennials,
you and I at respectively 40 and 36, are we children anymore?
Yeah, it depends on what measure of value you put it up against, but as far as I'm concerned, no, we're not children anymore. We are adults.
We are now adults with grown responsibilities.
Loans. At least some of us do. Yeah.
We have loans. You and I and a segment of our age group can't afford to buy a house.
Let's talk about that for a minute. Oh, I wonder why.
Oh yeah, that's right. Because you wanted to basically pay us an allowance.
Oh, which essentially turned into our salary.
And for X amount of work. I mean, you wonder why. And it's not just always.
And it's not even work, it's time. So it doesn't matter how efficient we do our jobs. We get paid amount no regardless. Wait a minute. So you're basically telling us to be average. Because if we are too good at our jobs, you just gotta reward us with more work. And if we don't do enough work, you just fire us anyways. Oh, wonderful. Okay. Great deal.
Exactly. Because let's be honest, it still feels like we're working for our parents, just in another sense. Where basically, if I want a day off, for example, I can't do a call out. Now I have to seek permission to have a mental health day. I mean, really?
Permission? Oh, that sounds familiar. First, we have to be accepted. And then once we're accepted, then if we want anything, we have to get permission or be approved.
Pretty much.
Oh, you need to go potty? Oh, yes, you can. In about 10 minutes, you can go. or whichever you finish that
Or
little bit.
communicate with a colleague that I'm going on a lunch break. And then I have to clock out for it.
Oh, I was unpaid. Oh, damn. I mean, not only we pay for our food,
Yeah,
we don't
we
get
can't
paid to,
get paid for
oh, you know, and we pay for our food. Wait, what?
Oh, so now I have to lose money to pay for my food, to pay for a commute, to pay for
So I have to
housing.
lose money to feed myself. And I have to use that money that you pay me prior to feed me. Wait a minute. Double loss.
No,
Red flag, red flag.
quadruple dunk loss. Because now, guess what? When you tell me 75%, I shouldn't pay more than 75% of my money to housing, how the hell do you expect me to save when I'm making X wages?
Seriously, like, oh, you think $30,000 is a good salary? 40,000? Great salary. Except
Small problem.
50% of your
80
salary
years ago,
goes
30
to
grand, 80 years
rent.
ago, 30 grand was a good. How about this one? 90 years ago, 30 grand would be a reasonable.
Oh, please. It's like you're a millionaire at that point.
Oh, wait, I forgot. Joe Biden's generation of politicians are stuck in that time period
Oh, well.
where 30K,
At least
where,
he's trying.
hey, it's good to have a job. Okay, you old
Yeah.
Get the fuck out of the
yeah.
do us a favor, get the fuck out of the government then.
Hey,
Because now you're just leeching off the public.
welcome to Politics 101, where you are the government from which you steal from. Congratulations.
Pretty much. Just like Mr. DeSantis. I wonder how that's working out for the state of Florida. Have they started kicking themselves yet since they voted for the guy?
I haven't been here that long to even comment on that bullshit.
Okay, have they started kicking themselves for voting for another certain freeloading resident that came from my state?
I have no idea, and I have no comment. But as far as I'm concerned, as a citizen of the United States of Florida, I give no cares.
No, now that you brought that up, now it's time to take a double dunk on a university in Florida and how
stupid. Yes.
Now it's time to start dunking on college computer science programs.
Yes.
So
let me preface this. I have nothing but love for this university. They're a great university. The program's great and everything, but I'm just gonna say this for the love. Why so much math? Why is everything so tightly coupled? Isn't that what you're trying to teach us not to do?
Here's my thing on computer science. Okay.
Hey, look at me, I'm turning black, just like my imaging processing program that I wrote the other day. I was
wondering what the heck's going on. So
I have no idea, but I look like a Goomba.
Let's start with what professions will the degree in computer science prepare you for? Okay. At said university that you attended right now, you can supposedly be any of the following: a business intelligence analyst, a programmer, a system analyst, a database administrator, a security analyst, a systems manager, a systems administrator, an applications developer, technical support in IT, or a web developer. Okay, my next question is when this was marketed, did they make stupid promises that they could get you a job, or did they basically give you the finger and say for that part of the career aspect, finish the program, basically screw you, pull yourself up by the bootstraps and go find your own job?
So the thing is that at this university, I don't think that even matters because their name is so well known, and because one of the co-founders of NVIDIA actually graduated from that university, and it even has its own future crawl, as they call it. So as far as I'm concerned, graduates probably get good jobs based on the name. Now, as for my first bachelor's degree, yeah, well, that promises that they continue. Let's just say that. Which is
So
the
your
reason why I'm
remind
here.
me what your first degree was?
Pharmaceutical sciences.
Did they over
Promise, under
promise
deliver.
that you would get a job with it since it happened to be a rare degree?
Pretty much. I found out no, nobody wants you.
So when I went to Mercy College, I'm not dunking,
Beautiful.
by the way. They made some overpromises with the program in business
I
administration.
think I'm becoming anonymous, Ben.
How much time left?
Oh, that's a great question. But I think I'm becoming anonymous.
Yeah, okay. Time.
Let's see here. It's 4 past the 30.
We hit 30.
So it's 8:34, Ben. Keep going.
No. Time check on the Zoom. How much time left?
I mean, I sat for 45 minutes. We're good. Keep going.
Okay, perfect. All right. So, all right, let's look at some of the classes involved in the degree. Okay. If that was even listed. On
Oh,
this.
sure it was.
Oh, okay, I see. So, analytic geometry and calculus 1. You complained about this.
That was
Analytic
fun.
geometry and calculus 2.
Even
Analytic
more fun.
geometry and calculus 3.
No
Physics
hard
with
pass.
or physics with calc 1. And the sequence
I didn't
was
have to take that
48
one.
and
That
24.
transferred in.
Now, let's ask this question. We're in 2021. For a college to still basically suggest that you need 3 sequences of calculus, which you even said yourself, I am not doing well in this. Do you really? And by the way, since you said this is a second bachelor's degree, what's your current GPA? Since it said you had to keep at least a 2.5 GPA, you said you were doing horrible.
Oh, you mean, so this is the thing, and this is a strictly this university thing. It's called critical tracking. And so, but it has nothing to do with computer science at all. In fact, only one computer science course.
Basically just the
only one
university
computer
trying
science
to
course.
control you.
Pretty much. So it's only one computer science class that actually matters in this sub GPA. So you need.
Was that the D plus
with
was
lab?
that D plus course?
No, that has nothing to do with it. No, that's not even part of it. So basically, you have programming fundamentals. Okay, that should be in critical tracking, but you need the 3 sequence of calc, and you need the 2 sequence of physics. Now, in the liberal arts version, you actually get to choose the physics. Commendable. Now, here's the thing that's even crazier. If you want to get in as a second bachelor's, you have to have completed the calc sequence. How did I get in without it? I have no idea. In fact, they put me all the way back to trigonometry. Even more fun. That was 6 weeks.
I took college algebra with trigonometry. And
did you take it? Did you take a 6 week hell course? Probably
no,
not.
Do you know how many times? Do you know why my degree took so long? And I'm even dunking on the fact that I sucked at math. Math is completely unnecessary. Some math is unnecessary to necessary. It depends on what you study. But
I am dark like a lump of coal. Man.
It depends on what you study, and it depends on how you apply it to your day-to-day life. But I will say this, especially for colleges and universities and in computer science. If everything is done nowadays on computers, colleges, including the one you are currently attending, should probably just mix the math all together because the math is becoming completely unnecessary now with computers being advanced.
Well, no, I will disagree with you. Math is still relevant, and in fact, is more necessary than ever due to the fact it's logic. Math is logic. Now, I will say this. Um, since I'm attending this university, I'll be switching to another university this quarter. And it doesn't have all that math, which kind of sucks, but at the same time, I'm kind of grateful for.
But that can be better in a sense because now you're actually getting to take the relevant coursework that'll help you upgrade in your career.
Yes, yes. And faster
Because
too,
that's everyone's
because I don't
argument.
have to go through all that slog.
The
That's
problem
the
today,
reason why I'm leaving. It's
the
the
problem
slog. It's
today, and
like,
we'll explore this next week when we do another opinionated collective episode, is how do you fix education and why are the dropout rates even higher now than they used to be, is because there's a lot of
yes.
unnecessary, because I'm not just dunking on the school you go to right now, but there's a
It's
lot of
everywhere.
unnecessary fluff, and there's a lot of unnecessary things that may have made sense in the 20th century that don't make
Right.
sense today.
I can agree with you. I know that's how I feel.
Just the same way I would dunk on a corporation. I'm gonna, for basically being in some cases, greedy pricks and doing things a certain way. I will dunk on a college and say, for example, where you're going, do you really need to give somebody 3 sequences of one math when it should be maybe 1 sequence at most? And then
I
let you
would
go to
say
the
1 to
important.
2. Well, for engineering, I would say at least 2. But the third should be like dependent upon where in engineering you're gonna go. But it's funny because like some universities have BA degrees that drop or lower that or eliminate that requirement. And then you got some that like the university I'm going into this fall quarter, their courses are loosely coupled, meaning um I don't have to take say discrete math with programming 2 or take programming 2 and then discrete math. If I want to take discrete math to get out of the way, I should be allowed to do so.
I can see some relevance with that.
That's it's not just discrete math. It can be any course. It's kind of like there should be some ability to wiggle around a bit and not be so strict and narrow.
So I want to circle back to basically dunking on companies that hate remote work, and then we'll circle to back to we'll finish up with the whole. I think we're good on college.
Yeah, we're good.
So we're going to circle back and finish up with dunking on corporations that basically are being too lazy for remote. All right. The arguments were intense and driven by culture, such as much as logistics and economics. As family therapists might say, the debates show generations often talk past each other. The same words can mean very different things to people because their assumptions clash. Take productivity.
Yes.
Workers like me who started their careers toward the end of the 20th century assumed offices were more productive than home. Going to work was synonymous with going to the office and was defined in opposition to home, which was linked to time spent not working. So, in relation to both these 2 points, this is actually taken from the Fortune art, where was this from? Financialpost.com. Most blithely assume it will be easier for them to put an end to remote work when the summer is over and if the recession hits. Honestly, at this point, corporation, if you want to retain your workforce with a recession coming instead of having to scale back, on some level, whether you have the budget or not, we understand that, as a large rule, corporations need to do some level of scaling back, but don't ask the remote positions because the remote positions are completely beneficial to people.
In fact, I would like to argue that the remote positions are the ones that cost the least. I
Yes, it
mean,
costs these companies more just to own real estate and then
right?
more to try to figure out how in the hell am I going to get
How
people into the office because I
how
need late
utilization rate?
benefits.
Yeah, yeah.
And
Like they're trying to figure out this like simple math problem, and it's very easy. You
if you let
just figure
resources
out
go
a way to get
remote,
out of this. Yeah.
then if you're going to let human resources go remote, then just eliminate the costly positions because there are more costlier positions that could completely be eliminated.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean,
You
you let
know,
your whole human resources team basically stay out of the office. And let's be honest with something about HR, since we don't have anyone on here. Honestly, HR are the most arrogant part of the organization ever, especially when it comes to what I see on sites like on all the social media platforms where you now have more visibility among recruits, not
mm,
just women and men, but they come off as narcissistic. That's number one. They come off arrogant and full of themselves, number two. And last but not least, they think they're know-it-alls. And, look, it's human resources, for Christ's sake. You're really there to just
the
to base
key word is resources. Guess what that
resources
means?
is meant to be organizational police, but they're not the ones who should be complaining about,
Nah.
me and you go, whether you and I go to the office while they're at home.
Well, I say this: resources to whom? Who's your resource? I mean,
It's okay because
it's
look at
about
how
to say who
pretty
owns
some
who
of these
for the
women
amount of time.
recruiters are. They think they got what it takes to recruit people.
Do you know how many times I have to ignore recruiters because they just don't have any game?
How much? Because I've heard these stories 100 times and they make me laugh and make me second guess human resources.
Maybe second guess humanity sometimes. Yes, I know.
Oh, it's
It's
especially now how
so
they've been
blatant.
exposed. Recruiting
So
and
blatant.
human resources has so been recruiting and human resources today has so been exposed thanks to social media. They come off
Absolutely.
they come off as narcissists. They come off as extremely cocky and arrogant, like they're so important. And then last but not least, they think they're valuable when you can when you're paying a recruiter more money than a web developer in salary. No wonder you're losing the web developer because who's more valuable? Let's be honest, the web developer.
You know what I can say about the people who just hire senior developers? I'm like, if all you hire is seniors, you have nobody to train. Well, that's great for y'all and great for developers, but it's shit for your organization because when they leave, your business leaves with them. Oops.
Oh yeah,
And there's
that's
no
right.
replacements.
But remember, tell me about how important work-life balance is to a recruiter who gets to sit at home on their computer.
Oh yeah, I love it. I get these things like, yeah, yeah, I can't talk right now because I'm on baby duty. We just had a 10-month-old at home. I'm like, oh, that's lovely. So you're working from home and you just had a baby with your wife. Thanks for telling me.
Okay, so one more point from this article, and then we'll do a wrap. We'll do a semi-rapid reaction. Okay.
Okay.
Managers just need to learn to manage remotely. There is a third key point of tension: apprenticeships. Though the concept is most often associated with blue-collar work in the West, it also mattered for 20th century white-collar professionals. Today, established lawyers, bankers, accountants, journalists usually learn their craft by observing others through the immersion in an office. This was just because they needed to acquire technical skills. The key issue was the transmission of culture. Offices were where the younger generation learned to network, compose themselves, manage their time, and so on. Today's corporate leaders take it for granted that the culture transfer matters, hence the existence of summer internships. Not everyone shares this view, especially when so much else is in influx. Many of the older generation are struggling to make sense of an increasingly digital world. So this goes back to what we were just doing in OPC today with Catherine and Keenan, which is we had a good episode, and there were many good points, even from her perspective as an older worker, much like my father. My father has gotten used to remote work, but even, just at her level as well, she and my mother see things differently than my father does. My father's so much, love the idea of the office and would prefer to be in the office, especially in the new role that he just recently got. But he's also become comfortable being able to work remotely as well, and saw a whole different perspective. As far as the oldest of the boomers still trying to maintain basically summer interns, or what would be a more appropriate title for summer interns? Should we just call them SLAVES at this point, since they're unpaid and we're basically trying to market you with the experience?
So about that, I think there's a lot of deception there that needs to stop.
I would call that exploitation at this point. So I'm not going to use that term. I'm going to basically say you want a free worker, okay?
Or a low-paid worker.
Or a low-paid worker, because, you want to market that to them, the experience, the apprentice, the idea of an apprenticeship. An internship and an apprenticeship are two separate things. In an actual apprenticeship, like welding, for example, you're learning a very important key skill as well that's transferable to entrepreneurship. But guess what? Oddly enough, what's paid better over, a banking intern? Sadly, the welder is actually paid reasonably well living wages for a very high skill position. But tell me how, if I have to do an internship, it should be for free, but the welder who apprentices can make $70K. Now you just lose all credibility. I'm sorry.
And that's the hypocrisy all around, Ben.
But my favorite thing to listen to with complete senior leaders at this point, and I'm not talking baby boomers, the oldest generation. Well, back in our day, it's not back in your day anymore, stupid. This is 2022. Nobody cares about the Great Depression, how you pulled yourself up by the bootstraps.
Nobody cares
The generation underneath you, 1946 to 64, is also basically giving you the finger at this point and saying, can you just retire and let us manage with whatever years we're left having to work in the workforce, because you got your pension and we didn't? Oh, and by the way, as baby boomers, here's the finger.
Yeah.
Because now we have to take care of our aging parents, and we have to basically keep our kids, while you, silent generation, basically gets to be welfare queens. Oops. Remember that old reference to welfare queens?
Priceless.
Exactly. All right, guys. So I hope you enjoyed me and Justin doing some dunking on college and big corporations this week. We definitely hope you learned something today from both OPC and Cringe today. We'll see you soon. Bye.
Bye.